here we are at the beginning of a new segment of the game, essentially. The Boeotian War, the deck has gotten increased with the Athenian Crisis cards, at least as best as I understand them. And we got some new leaders in play. Let's take a look at the new leaders. We got Pleisthonax. When he becomes spent, you gain a favor, or you can discard a card. Discarding a card is very powerful. So he would be a useful guy to use in each round. He doesn't help you in battle particularly, right? But he helps your overall position. And then over here, we added Pericles. When Pericles becomes spent, you may send a lesser envoy to a friendly space. Again, that's a useful thing. That's like an ability off a card. Often what you can get off, the best you can get off of a decent card. Now let's look at the player choices of cards. The Peace of Callias. Athens can send a greater envoy to Persia, even if contested, and may spend one favor to immediately resolve its control. This is kind of interesting, but it's not going to swing Persia. If Athens had this card, they could plan for it and try to succeed in the siege. But with Sparta holding it, they may want to play it early and just disband this siege and, you know, do what it does. Now, I'm not sure what that's going to do in terms of affecting the special rules for this. Is the fleet recalled because it didn't really succeed in the siege, but it can't continue? I don't know. Sparta. So this is a weird little piece. Sparta would be able to place this piece on its regular side in any land asset box. What does that exactly mean? I think they mean these circles. And essentially, for the rest of the game, the asset is of that type. You'd have an asset that would be declared. So let's say I put it over, well, I don't have the Peloponnesus anymore. How about that? Let's say I put it over in the Peloponnesus. It would now become an elite unit, and it would just like show up over here, which is not optimal, but I don't know what to do unless Peloponnesus is recovered. I don't know what these are. I'm not familiar with the term and the meaning. Corinthian schemes. Is this the one? No, it's Theban stratagems or whatever. Yeah, this one is supposed to be there. The controller of Corinth sends an envoy to an uncontrolled space, but you gain a favor if nobody controls Corinth. Right now there is no controller of Corinth, so it might be useful. I don't know. Oh, these go away. I didn't hit that. Fuck. When do these go away? Like, they go away sometime during this period, before the cards are dealt out. So they should have already happened. Let's see, regional. This is the problem. You have to hunt through all kinds of things to find the specific rule where this happens. And I don't know where it happens. And then these extra little details are not going to be in here, I think. Ah, there it is, rebuilding, remove all raids. Okay, so that happened back in the rebuilding section. So it is actually on there, that's helpful. Basically, anything that's in the rulebook that's not on the card is problematic because of the way the rules are structured. And I usually don't rely on player aids this much. But anyway, these two go away. They've had their impact just for this turn. And now, you know, if like Peloponnesus is reassessed, it would come under Sparta's control at this point. And why did I turn the camera off? Theban alliance. Sparta sends a lesser envoy to Thebes and may spend a favor to immediately resolve control of Boeotia. That would actually give me control. And again, send an elite over my way. So that's kind of cool. Second Sacred War. Spend one favor to send a greater envoy to Delphi, even if contested. Now, Delphi is kind of weird Because a greater envoy is going to flip it completely. If you do not have a favor or you already control Delphi, you gain a favor. You sometimes don't have a choice. You have to spend the favor. This is one of those. And then Laconism, this is the one I was talking about. The Spartan player sends a lesser envoy to the Athens space, thereby weakening control of Attica, and that might actually swing it into like if that were done as the last card, it might end up putting Attica into a not aligned position. Like CDGs, this is a game where, like the CDGs that I like, this is a game where it doesn't feel like you can't play the game without knowing the deck, but I don't think you can play it at that high competitive level without memorizing the deck, knowing where all the cards are going to be, and knowing what's going to happen. To me, what that means is I'd want big gaps between my plays. Not because I hate competitive play in and of itself, although I generally tend to stray away from it, but because I do not want that kind of information in players' hands, okay? There are some games that get around that kind of problem. I'm going to say Clash of Monarchs. The CDG system there seems to get away from any kind of memorization of the deck. Amateurs at Arms, with its huge deck, seems to get away from it. I think Europe in Turmoil, the original, kind of got away from it. I don't remember it that well, but it felt like the deck was big enough that you didn't have, too much advantage by memorizing. But there are ones that are just way out there where, like, you can't even really play the game properly. Like, Paths of Glory comes to mind there. You can't even make your choices, and get the historical results unless you memorize the deck and learn, how to affect certain things. You have to play that card game aspect of it. And I really hate that. And to me, that's like Paths of Glory is a bad game because of that. Not all games based on it are bad for that reason, but it itself is. Another one that... now, if you have someone like me who blunders into a game playing... So if someone like me blunders into a game playing against somebody who's kind of a shark with the system, and that happened to me with Napoleonic Wars, and maybe with Here I Stand, but I ended up doing well enough in that. But with Napoleonic Wars, I played against a group of guys, all who knew it better than I did, but one of whom was just, absolutely devoted to the game and just like, could look at their hand of cards, could realize what that meant in terms of what other people have and everything, and could just absolutely, dominate the game because of that knowledge. And I felt that was unpleasant, to say the least. I've certainly played other games where people have more knowledge than I do, and they utilize that knowledge in a way that, it's an advantage, but okay. And I've been in many, many games where I have a little more knowledge of what the game is going to do than the players do. Now, for the most part, I consider that about equivalent to something like Europa Universalis, knowing what events are going to happen, what's likely to come from them. And in a way, just knowing the history is actually probably close enough to knowing what the cards are going to be. There's other things that don't bother me, like in Twilight Struggle. Memorizing the deck is horrible in Twilight Struggle. It is as bad as in many other games. But there's one piece of information that I feel like if you're explaining the game, you kind of have to explain when and where these are going to happen, which is and this is actually a matter of, you can't play the game historically accurately without this knowledge, is when the particular scoring cards come up. That's actually a system that came from, it's kind of interesting. It's almost a direct rip from a much older game, a 1960s game by Milton Bradley called Summit. covering the same topic, really, but in a very different sort of way. But it had these scoring cards that were programmed in the same sort of way. And if you knew when they were, if you didn't know when they were going to happen, you would play ahistorically. In that game, it doesn't matter as much, just because, I don't know, it's not as historically linked and whatever. But with Twilight Struggle, like, hey, sure, it's good to know that, you have to know that Europe is going to be scored in that first deck, and that it may get scored again and again, but like that the Far East isn't gonna or Southeast Asia isn't gonna get scored early on. Anyway, I'm going all over the place. Did I look at, I have not even looked at the Athenian cards, so we'll get to those. See what happens when I get into a tangent, man. Of tangents, I'm kind of at a nadir in terms of raid, which is like, there's this great thing, but they've just depressed me too much with how they happen and whatever. I'm just never in the mood for them. Where you're able to like re-gear for free, and it's this horrible aspect of the game where you have to pay to move your gear around. Oh, I got little birdies. These guys. Tiny little guys. Almost like chickadees, but they're yellow. But it's really kind of depressing me and getting me out of the mood for raid. This game is pulling me out of it as well, which is kind of cool. I don't know if it'll last. It'd be nice. It'd be nice if I just... our clan is losing somebody who came in about the same time as I did, and we kind of grew our accounts at the same time. He's just like, yeah, I can't keep playing. Whereas he seemed to enjoy the game. Like, this is the difference. He seemed to enjoy the game, and then now I think he's just not taking his enjoyment anymore and wants to get out of it. Whereas I never enjoyed it. All right, let's take a look at some of the Athenian cards. New Alliance. Send an envoy to one of the allied powers, and it's a greater envoy, and then you can spend a favor to resolve it, getting its assets immediately. That's the only way that, so this immediately resolve its control. It's not well defined in the rules as far as I'm concerned, but it's the only sensible thing is that it would trigger them. The question, of course, is would it trigger the coinage as well? And I'm guessing. Spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to any uncontrolled space. If you do not have any, send to a friendly space instead. That's a pretty expensive send one to an uncontrolled space when you can just boost up a friendly space. But you might have only control markers on the board, which means that it would be a wasted card if you don't spend the favor. Wasted isn't bad. Spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to one space in Boeotia and one in Corinthia. If you don't have any, the opponent chooses which one, and you send an envoy to just one of those regions, to a space in one of those regions. I think here, the opponent chooses the region, but you get to still choose the space. You may give 2 talents to your opponent. If you do, demobilize one of their hoplites unless besieging or triremes, and its commander is spent, or you can just gain a favor. Mobilize a trireme for free if you then deploy it to start a sea battle, or gain a navy strength. Navy strength is kind of nice. That's a lot of money. And then spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to a space in Thessaly and in Chalcidicia. If you do not have any, opponent chooses one of those regions, send only that envoy, same as the other ones. So, I'm not seeing anything that's devastating to either player. Like, did they have one they had one they didn't want to play? Oh, no, they had one that Athens wouldn't want to play. Is there one that they really didn't want to play? Yeah, this is not a particularly good one, but this might be the perfect time to play it before that siege gets resolved. If he's going for it, we want to probably kick that out of the way. There was something that I wanted to go into. So there's no one deploying right now, which is kind of interesting. If we take a look at the turn order, and this is trying to get a grasp on the system, right? So if we go to, let's find the sequence of play. We need the actual game sequence here. The Olympics, then both players check to see if they have any mobilized leaders commanding hoplites or triremes that have not yet deployed. These armies will not get a chance to act. They're placed in the spent. So basically, you never start a turn with forces already deploying. You might start a turn with forces on the board, right? There's some chance that troops that you tried to utilize and that you left doing something will be still doing it. But you never start with new troops mobilizing. Now this is kind of weird because at the start of the scenarios, sometimes you have troops already mobilizing, which is kind of funky, but we'll see how that works when it goes. All right, I'm going to start, and I think I'm just going to play, I think I'm going to play this because I don't think anything else, I don't think anything else is time sensitive in the way that this is. And then, I start deploying my troops and whatnot. Which troops? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so that greater envoy switched Persia from a leaning Sparta to leaning Athens. And now I'm in a weird position. And this is going to get removed from the game, but I'm continuing the Spartan turn. Now I'm in a weird position where I think I have to, make shit up probably. We look at this. When sieging, they'll suffer this. The fleet can be attacked. The fleet can prosecute the siege as normal. So, if all Spartan influence is removed, treat as the Athenian fleet as recalled. I think this caused all Spartan influence to be removed. So I'm going to do it that way. So at the end of any deal action cards phase, now this isn't that. This is when you have a choice to. The siege marker is removed without a raid. Athens loses a navy strength, and this retires. This guy ends up spent. So we pay a cost for all of this. And now I figure out what I want to build. And so I'm raising something up with the Polemarch because he can give me money. And I'm still not rich. I have a lot of favor. I'm not rich. Athens is going to play this. Send a greater envoy to Megalopolis, Crete, or Thrace if uncontrolled. I look at the three. Megalopolis, I get a cav. That's useless. Thrace, I get a single skirmisher. That's not enough to really do anything. But Crete gives me 2 skirmishers. It's a greater envoy, so I send it here. That doesn't do anything, but if I spend a favor, now I immediately resolve its control, which doesn't give me any money, but it does put skirmishers in here, changing that value. This goes into the discard pile, and that is it. I'll get this up here. That's not going to count towards victory. And now I get to muster what I want to do. Now, I've got a threat in play, which is there is a Spartan who's coming forward. He could conceivably siege Athens. Of course, I can raise something to fight in Athens immediately. Did I have a quick fight? I have a quick fight with a trireme, but that's not going to help. Yeah, so I don't know. I like how this game, so a lot of these CDG type games allow you to flip political controls kind of no matter what you want to do, no matter what with your ops points and whatever. This game has nice limitations on the cards. A lot of the cards don't do much, right? They allow you to flip some values and whatnot, and then you get your military action in addition to that. So it's almost like it's 2 different planes. It's not like, yeah, well, we're conducting diplomacy, therefore we can't do anything militarily, right? Quite often the two go hand in hand or hand in glove, and you need to kind of combine things to make things work. I actually really like the feel of this kind of game better. Of course, I could see some people not liking that they don't have, that they're more constrained by their cards. They don't have as much control over what choices, they don't get to choose, I'm going to take some reinforcements and I'm going to focus on military or whatever. Here, you have to do what you're kind of given by the cards, and that may not be good stuff, right? You might have to try to figure out how to bury cards and things like that. So yeah, I'm not sure what I want to do. Do I want to compete with this? Well, what could he do with his army? He could take Argos, which isn't, like he could attack Argos, which isn't terribly impactful. I think I want an army so that I can intervene in Thebes. Or am I more interested in Corinth? I don't know. My capabilities are more naval-based. Hey, I didn't get the Ionian coast chip. This is the problem with how I did things, right? It's not going to make much difference. I get an extra coin out of that. I just forgot that I had grabbed that. Let's make sure. Peloponnesus was not neutral. It was in my favor. Corinth was there. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to make sure that I didn't screw anything up beyond that one. Okay. And yeah, it's a hard call. Do I want to use navies? So a navy could mess with Aetolia. I'm kind of at a disadvantage in naval combat, whereas I'm actually at an advantage in land combat, but not here, and this cancels out the disadvantage I have. So kind of at a balance. I don't know what I want to do. Like, I just have this feeling, I should build an army. Because that seems like the default thing to do, to deal with the fact that Sparta's building an army. But I don't know that I'm terribly worried about Sparta's army. They don't have any controls. They don't have anything to push into here. So they probably aren't going to succeed with a siege, and I can counter them. But what could I gain with a navy? And this is where I get into my AP cycles, right? Where I'm like, okay, I can do this. Oh, by the way, the disadvantage to this is it's not connected to anything. So if we're talking about, well, Thrace wasn't, or Macedon wasn't an option. But if we're talking about me gaining, say, Thrace, I have land connections, which give me potential benefits, right? I'm allowed to, like, send troops out of them, for example. No such thing with Crete, but that's okay. I'm not looking to push all the way out there. Yeah, like, you don't want to launch attacks against neutrals, because that, like, swings them to the enemy, unless the enemy has nothing you want to attack. On the other hand, I don't really... Maybe I pass. How much money do I have? I have a shit ton of money. I have enough for 5 of my 6 cards. Yeah, I probably want to build something. I'm probably not going to build everything because Myronides here, it's useful to just keep him for the Olympics. Of course, if I could get him veteran, he rolls an extra die at the Olympics. He actually gives you, he gives you an extra die on the other side. He gives you the bonus of being able to mobilize him immediately. But then, and that would be available for the next turn. A mobilized unit available for the next turn. So that's one possibility for, like, fast mobilization. The problem, of course, is then you don't get his advantage in the Olympics because he ends up spent. Unless he got something done, spend him. Is there a card I want to discard? I don't think I had anything bad. So Pericles seems useful. Talmides is neat because he allows me to trigger another trireme. So why don't we get that little cycle going? That way I can have a trireme followed by a trireme, whatever. Might work. The problem with him is he has to be leading a trireme, so I can't do a siege with him, but I can do a raid. And is there anywhere interesting that I want to raid? Good question. Good question. Right here, that does something. Like, there's just not that much value. You're stuck with this. Okay, I can spend. I want to build troops, but what do I fucking want to do with them? I don't know. In way too much detail right now, but I'm playing the Theban Alliance to begin things off. That gets me control of Thebes. Now I spend. Might as well. This could be useful. I don't know. See, this guy's kind of weird because, sure, he gives you another pip towards here, but basically what he's doing is giving you a chance to a better chance of keeping him. I think he's actually the least valuable of the favors. I'm going to spend a favor to reassess Boeotia, and I'm now in control of Boeotia. So this swings back over. I get a coin. Again, that's the thing that I'm not as certain about. Yeah, I fiddle around because I must make change all the time. You saw that in Down with the King. But more importantly, Boeotia shifts over here, and that'll put a red cube in the elites. And now I've stabilized the land situation. Now I look for the sequence of play. The game takes up a good deal of space, actually, for what seems like a kind of small a game. Now I have to deploy, and this is always a hard call for me, is what the hell I'm putting where. The fact that Athens did not respond to my land movement means I'm going to move to Argos and try to siege that. There's not really a great answer for what I'd want to take. Obviously, look, I'd love to take Athens, right? That would swing the Attica section over. But I'm not strong enough to just sit there and, fight. I don't have enough cash to just fight out lots of sieges. But I might have enough to get Argos down. So I march into there. Great. And then... And what's nice about that is that Athens does not necessarily have a way to deal with this immediately. Maybe they have a card. They have the emergency measures, which I have to look up. Desperate times, 7 and 13. These are the little edge things, right? But they're really important. Desperate times... Mobilize a hoplite or trireme and then immediately deploy to fight an enemy force. So I don't have to use it in my home city. So I could conceivably just sweep in with a new army as long as I have that desperate times counter. Now, the way I'm doing that, and I don't think it's spelled out this way, is each scenario I'm recharging that. Because you would have it in each scenario. I don't think the campaign rules really talk about what to do about stuff like that. Like I said, I think there's some stuff where those are kind of not as well thought out. Like, this is giving you a pretty good framework, but there's stuff like these cards that aren't covered within them, and it's just kind of like, yeah, it's obvious what you would want to do in the desperate times. It's obvious what it should be to make the other scenarios what they are. Therefore, let it just happen that way, right? The intention might be that you only get one desperate times over the course of the whole campaign. But that just feels too limiting to me. And since I'm going to assess value at the end of each scenario, as well as over the, hey, who wins the last one being kind of important, I do think it's kind of important to me to be able to have each scenario kind of stand alone, even though they have that situation. Now, what was I babbling about? I don't know. I lost my way here. So I've moved into place, and oh yeah, I'm building a boat, and that's as a counter to this. So, I'm doing something and preparing to respond in case some sort of siege is going to be laid up there. Or a raid. I mean, it doesn't make a difference, right? I get to respond either way. This is wise or not, because one of the advantages I have over Sparta is that I have Bunny. But I'm going to spend $2 to force him to demobilize this. And that just spends this guy. Now, he actually gains a talent for that. So now we're getting much closer money-wise, right? It might not have been a great idea, but it just feels like such a, haha, you thought you could beat me. I do have to do the raid first. Oh, I'm not on the board. Okay. Yeah. So then I deploy, and I got to decide where the hell I want to hit. And that's a hard call, right? If I take this, I am at equal with Sparta, with the Peloponnesus. Now, I've currently got the Peloponnesus, so that's not necessarily terribly good. I would like to just send an army and siege it, especially since, there's a +1 bonus for that. And I've got them balanced out here, so actually I'm in pretty good shape. Another option would be, I can't really fight over Thebes. There's nothing I can gain there. I was planning on kind of picking one of these off. But now with the situation, I think I'm going to sail to here. And then I build something, and I think I build an army. With me holding 3 battle cards, I may actually want to spend $2 to get another one. But I'm pretty happy with my hand. The idea of spending money feels painful. I spent money already. I spent it on Sparta. I think I'm going to pause for a little bit, put these dice here to remind me that it's Sparta's turn. But we're definitely getting to, the conflict of this turn is beginning. Unfortunately, whatever malaise is keeping me from wanting to play Raid is applying to just about everything. I've been pushing, I've been hitting wheels on this pretty well, actually, for me. But still, instead of playing out the whole turn, which don't take that long, and I feel like is the right level of stopping, I ended up wandering downstairs, watching a video, whatever, not doing any raid. And the only thing that's really appealing to me is the idea of getting drunk out on my porch with a cigar. And I may well do that soon. Finding the cards are generating some difficult to make decisions. In this case, I decided to play this because even though I'm close to controlling Corinth, do I really want a lesser envoy to an uncontested space, or is a favor better anyhow? I chose the favor rather than trying to create some way that I get to Corinth. Then I deployed my fleet out there, and I am creating an army with a +1 battle strength. I don't know quite what I'm going to go for with it, but it is a potentially powerful position. Now, I have another favor coming from him. If he survives, he has to survive the battle to give it to me. Okay, so we're hitting with a naval battle here, and So first we calculate our points out. Let me look real quickly here. Sea battle strength is going to be the largest combined value of Allied fleets. That's 1 in my favor. Athens has the bigger fleet value, so that drops it to 0. This is in an area, the Peloponnesus, which is actually controlled by Athens right now. How about that? Now I get a battle card, though. And I have a couple of fleet cards in my hand, so I think that I've got a shot here. I'm doing the attack. And the nice thing is, no matter what, I bounce him. So, well, almost no matter what. What's he got out here? Yeah. Okay. If not in play, gain the Phoenician fleet asset. This doesn't really help me. So I'll hold this. Reduce an opposing allied fleet asset, and then I can reduce one of my own to gain a battle strength. This might be worth doing. If you win this battle, your defensive works may remain in the battle space. Not particularly useful when I'm trying to drive the enemy away. Allied contribution, gain a couple of talents. This is a good card to spend. Why don't I just spend this for its points, right? This doesn't really give me anything. Like the $2 is worth more than anything else that I can do. I'll put it, and this is kind of where the, how the battle flows. It doesn't really give you a flavor. Like, this is what I kind of, where I don't like this battle card system, is that most battle card systems are trying to give you a narrative of how the battle is going. I don't think they do very well. I also don't think most battle boards do a very good job on that. The games that I like that give a good flavor are things like Empires in Arms or Europa Universalis or something like that, that have multiple rounds of combat where you might have decisions or whatever to make within those rounds. Oh, Le Grand Guerre, damn. That's one that seriously gives you a narrative story with lots of little choices that aren't just, maneuvering around on a little board. They're which unit is facing which unit, and it just works really well. But this has things like, oh look, I found some money. Now, I didn't find that money during the battle. It's something that the battle may have triggered or something, and it all makes sense in a, but it doesn't describe the narrative of the battle itself. Whereas I think the battle cards in Hannibal and stuff like that tend to be like, oh, I've got an outflank on the left, or this, that, and the other. They don't do much for me, though. The other thing is, the games that do something for me have things like die rolls within the narrative. So, and sometimes it can go overboard. Like Le Grand Guerre's naval combat gives one hell of a narrative, but is fucking obscene to play. All right, I'm not in a land battle. The winner of this battle gains a favor. I'm currently ahead, so I may want to do this, but this card can be used either way. Valor in battle. Promote one of your participating assets. If all your assets are veteran already, or you have none, gain a battle strength instead. This works really, really well for me. It gets rid of his pip and does what I want. Now that puts us over here. And the pulsing, the play and the pulsing and everything is all really cool. It really is. The actual play of the battle cards and everything I really enjoy, as opposed to, some of the more narrative aligned ones that I just don't. Reduce an opposing allied fleet asset. Then you can reduce one of your own to gain a battle strength. This seems really valuable. Alternatively, I could play the Phoenician fleet, but I like this one better as a play right now. So I reduce the Cyclades fleet. Then I can reduce my own fleet to gain a battle strength. Now let's look at my places. Aetolia is relatively strongly in my hands. Corinth a little less so. So I'm going to reduce the Corinthian one. Remember, that can be bought back. Oh, that leaves us at 0. See, but I have the Phoenician card. Oh, we got to recalculate, don't we? I think this is right. If I reduce my own, so I reduce this, that actually gains me a strength temporarily. If I reduce one of my own and gain a battle strength, I'm in the same place as I'm in right now, but I have a card to back me up that gets me another fleet. I'll do that. This is going to weird Athens out because they're like, yeah, why did you do that? Be like, oops. And, you know, after I say oops, to cover my situation, I might be like, oh, you willing to let me fix that? And they probably say yeah, and I'm like, you know, that's not really fair. I fucked up. Let me just leave it. There is certain playing with the opponent to make sure that they don't think, okay. Now, I could gain a battle strength giving the opponent a favor. Or I could let things go at a balanced fight. I won't get my raid then. I'll have been neutralized by a Spartan fleet. But I have Telmades, which would allow me to immediately send another fleet out because I have the Navarch. Or I could give a favor up. I think I'll pass. But Sparta's not willing to accept that. They're going to, I mean, they did what they did in order to avoid that. They're going to play the Phoenician fleet asset. Now, I could play 2 talents to promote that. Which I have. I'm low on money. Do I want to do that? I don't know if am I planning on sieging? Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, let's promote it. That gives me more space against them. Now, it still goes back to Athens, even though they passed before. Now, this is useless to me. Gain 1 battle strength, opponent gains a favor. Now, this booted over here. So I could cancel out his victory. But it would give him a fucking favor. Now he's going to get a favor off the victory anyway. I know he's out of battle cards, so I will play this. I'll give him this load of turds. And I gain a battle spot. Gain 1 battle strength. Yeah. By committing some atrocities. And that leaves us at a neutral. He has no more cards. We don't have anything we can play, so that's good enough. Neutral means we each lose a fleet roll, but actually before that, we roll this. Athens gets promoted. Both get promoted. So Pleistamax is spent. I gain a favor, and I may draw, then discard a card. I have to do both. We will do this. Going over here, we just did Telmades. He also got improved. When spent after leading a trireme, you may spend 2 talents to mobilize the Navarch with a trireme, even if spent. That's not too big a difference. So the Navarch goes here. This fleet goes. Why did I not grab the right one? Okay, and now we go over to here. When Pleistanax becomes spent, you gain 1 favor, and you can draw and then discard a card. guess we take the harp. I don't know. I mean, whatever we take, we're going to want to spend. Let's take this because if we don't spend it, it serves more purpose, I think. And then I may draw and then discard a card. I might as well do this. Send a greater envoy to Macedon, and I can get its control. That would give me the bonus in skirmishers. That's good. I could send one to Athens. This might be worth putting in there because it's a shitty card. Like, if Athens gets it, they have a shitty thing. And I don't know how much I want to decrease Athens, but it's kind of cool. Send one to Delphi. If you don't have a favor, gain a favor instead. This is a nice card, too. I'm going to toss this one. Yes, it's a Sparta-only card, but I kind of think it's cool to push it off to the side right now. That was the battle phase for Sparta. That means this goes back. That means we're back over to Athens. And yeah, I'm going into a lot of detail. And personal detail as well. So, that's life. Athens has kind of a complicated turn. Note that I didn't remove this card because it was discarded. I'm going to play this fleet action to gain a Navy strength point. I didn't have anything I wanted to do right away. I don't know. It's hard to do, but this saves me a couple of bucks. And I've got a lot going on right now. I have 2 units that have to deploy. For Sparta, they can only respond to one of those. On 2 things to play for. We're marching on Thebes here, and we sailed up here to Epidaurus, which is actually the only thing controlling Corinth right now. Seems kind of valuable at this point. That ends their turn, getting us over to Sparta. Their turn opened up with grabbing Macedon, and I forgot to spend my favor. Spending a favor in order to resolve its control, and we took the buck and the extra skirmishers. That gives us the military advantage on the skirmishers. And we built ourselves a boat. Do we actually want a boat here? Hold on. Because we're not going to be able to prevent that raid. Let us instead build ourselves an army. I could spend $2 to get another card, but I have a couple of cards left and only $4 left. I kind of don't want to do that, but of course I'm at a disadvantage on the battle cards at this point. The reason I can spend is that I'm mobilizing another force, and I'm going into a battle, so this could be a big deal. And it's time to resolve that battle. Let's see what the base value is. We're at +1 on these. We're at +1 for army strength. Boeotia is ours. That gets us a +1. And that's it. Okay. And now we get to draw a card. And they get a card. At least they only have 1 card advantage on us. What do we have here? Block out the sun. If you have the skirmisher advantage, enemy losses in this battle are increased by 2. That could knock their army strength way down. It doesn't have a hell of a lot of effect, but it does make the next turn. Or I have slaughter. Now, I have the skirmisher advantage. Yeah. I'll just play this. And we'll keep it in memory there. Because I'm at +3, man. I'm at +4. I have the Strategos with me. You can't go up that high. Whatever. Okay. What does he have? He has unbreakable shields. If you have the elite advantage, I do not. If the battle ends in a draw, you win instead. Well, that would be great, but that doesn't look like it's happening. What about this? Reduce an opposing elite asset. Or gain a battle strength. Then you can reduce your skirmisher to gain a battle strength. So reducing the elite won't do anything. Reducing one of my skirmishers won't change any points here, but I'd get 1. But again, I don't see any reason. I don't think I can win this battle, period, the end. So I'll take his ouch. Let's look at our leaders. Yeah. We roll. He's going to be improved, doesn't matter. Let's find an army. Pericles is improved. When he becomes spent, you may send a lesser envoy to a non-hostile space. That's important because I have no friendly spaces that... Oh, no, I do. I could send it to Persia. I think that's a space. I'm not sure. Do we have a definition of what a space is? Oh, gosh. Primarily what I'm looking for here would be, and this is how you have to try to read these, is I have to look for one of these. 6 might be it. A region and its regional reward box? No. It's an ally box. Regional control tiles? No. I don't think they're even covered. Yeah, I think I have to make up a rule here as to whether or not that is a space. It's not absolutely clear to me. Yeah, is space here? No. You know, this is a problem with card-based games. And we saw this in the 2 Minutes to Midnight, and maybe in some others, where there's terms used on the cards that may be assumed you know what they're talking about, but I'm not sure if this is a space or not. I can make an argument in each case. So, I mean, we look at this. So here it says cities on the map are valued. Cities then are, space is a different term than city. So I think I'm going to say that is a space. Because the only place you can put these things are in cities or allies. So what were we looking for here? Okay. Pericles got flipped over and he gets bonused. He gets his bonus for this turn. He is spent. I may send a lesser envoy to a non-hostile space. This is a non-hostile space. I could have sent it to a friendly space, but I think gaining Persia is of more value than anything else I can gain in this game. I'm not sure. Like, I could cancel out Boeotia, right? How much do those cav matter to me? That's an interesting question. Like, Boeotia is closely fought for, right? What is a non-hostile space that could be of some value to me? This I'm beaten out by a couple of points, so that's not really an option. Boeotia, I'm getting knocked out of here. I would need to gain 2 to gain Boeotia. I'm not going to gain 2. What else could I gain of any value? So I could get Thessaly back, but I think I have a card that gives me Thessaly. And again, that's cav. I get 2 cav from this, so that's not terribly useful. I could get money in cav. That might be more valuable. Just looking around to see if there's anywhere where I can gain anything better than off of Persia. Persia would give me 2 cav. Megalohellas wouldn't give me anything because I only get 1 cube there. So yeah, I think this is the best thing I can do. Basically, I could gain a 1-point city. Oh, I could get a pile of money from the Hellespont, which might be neat. Sort of early in the game to be, like early in the game world, to be grabbing anything from there. Oh, Persia gives me a boat. Yeah, Persia's definitely good. I thought it gave me 2 cav. No, definitely want that. Okay, so that was his army had to go away. What about his? He gets nothing special and doesn't get improved. His army goes home too. Didn't we have something else we were doing? We built this army. We built this army. Never mind. This was used up. Oh, we didn't cost the enemy, and we didn't take. Was there a victory? There was a victory. Okay. So Athens would lose 2 for the loss, and 2 more for this card. Okay. Whereas I lose 1 and gain a favor, and again I'm going to take the Olympic favor because I don't know what happens if I take that harp. I think Athens kind of controls it, but I just don't know. Like again, the rules say a favor, which makes it sound like anything, but this shows a picture of a particular one. And do I go by the rules as written, which sounds generic? I don't know. I do not know. That, I think, puts me onto the Athenian turn, right? It's easy to get lost. It's easy to get lost in this one. All right, yeah. That's going to give me the Athenian turn, and I got to swap batteries. I have to say, the Euro-ish style of play of the game makes me make a lot more decisions, which can be fatiguing. Like, I walk away at times when I don't really think it's a good idea to. Like, I play like 1 card or something from each player, and I'm like, it's time to walk away. Right now, though, it's really kind of catching the gears, and I'm like really excited about taking my next action, just like I am when I start, catching the gears on a CDG or something. Some of these more modern designs make it a lot easier to make a denser selection of decisions, right? I don't know if it really is. Like, they're bigger decisions. You really have to stop and think about each decision a lot harder than you do, say, when you're looking at a hex map and trying to figure out, well, where does this unit go? Where does this unit go? Where you kind of just figure out these patterns. Here, you have to put some real thought into each decision, at least at the point that I'm at in this game. Obviously, the guy who was a shark in Napoleonic Wars, if he decided to study this, he probably could just do it without thinking. That's just... But also, I don't consider that fun, right? That's like, it's like the guys who can walk up and down and play 20 people at once in chess, and they just, boop, boop, boop. They can see the position evaluated immediately. I don't think there's any enjoyment to that, right? They're putting on a demonstration, and I felt like the same thing was with this guy, although, I don't know, he seemed to be having his own little good time with, like, the excitement of being able to beat up on people who are much, much less capable than he is. But, it's just like, I know I wasn't having much fun, and I wouldn't have much fun in his position as being that much better than someone else. I would just be like, geez, I don't know. Why are we even playing, right? So in games where I do take some kind of competitive stance in them and do try to play well, it's just horrible to play somebody who's mismatched, who's much worse than you are. And that's why, like, if you're going to be that good, I don't know why you play the game against people who aren't that good. All right, where the hell am I? I think I'm on Athens. For whatever reason, I always jump to playing my card first when I shouldn't. What's happening here? I'm switching to a raid here. Great. I grab the coin. I put the raid marker there. But then I'm going to switch to a siege, which throws this into being one of these. And I get a little siege marker there. And That's the first thing that happens. I'll get to prosecute the siege in a moment. The second thing that happened was I played a card. This was a hard one. Spend a favor and a lesser envoy to a space in Boeotia and Corinthian Isthmus, but he didn't have any favor, so the opponent picks one. The opponent picked Boeotia with the hope that he would play in Delphi, but honestly, Plataea is of more value to the Athenians, I think, by starting to connect things up to get to Thebes. I don't know. The other thing would have been Megara would have been switched over. So I just don't know, and that's great. But what do I do there? Now it's time for me to mobilize, and I probably want to mobilize something. What do I want to mobilize is the question. I'm in a position where I can't reach Sparta. This would have to go to a friendly space. This is problematic because I'm out of friendly spaces again. Thessaly and Chalcedea. Probably do this one next, which means, what do I want to do? This doesn't help me with anything. This would cancel out Sparta in conjunction with Argos. So I think I can afford to build a boat. See, it's hard to tell. Like, what could I do with a land army? Well, I could come out of Athens or Persia. Now, I don't think I'm allowed to trace through an ally. So Persia would be limited to attacking something up there. That doesn't really help me. Athens would be limited to hitting Megara, which I don't want to hit. Thebes, which I don't mind hitting, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of work to take. What do I have for leaders? Unspent leaders. Pericles was spent. He should be up here. This is the confusion of having the boards, how the player would face them, right? The Polemarch. Okay. Sure. And I'll spend my $3. Do I need a card? I have two. I don't want a third one. Just a general rule there. Now it's time to resolve my siege. And sieges are always hard for me to remember how they're done. So we look. One or more adjacent, I get a die. One or more adjacent, unrated, unsieged, friendly controlled spaces and allies than the opponent has. Right now, I have that. So I'm up to 2 dice. It's not Sparta. I don't get anything off the army strength track. I don't lose anything for having a 0, though. And it's not Athens, so I get 2 dice for my siege. I got to pay money. I get a success. A success here is enough to take the 1 pip away. 1 pip away is enough to have destroyed Epidaurus. So that goes here. These go away. I gain, where is it? Final influence is removed. The besieging player gains talents equal to the space's autonomy and puts a control disk. The leader is spent and remove the markers. So I get $1 back for pillage. This goes here. The Navarric is now spent. All I have left is Myronides, but I'm probably not going to mobilize another force unless I absolutely have to. Does that do anything exciting for me? Not really, not yet. But right now, I'm in control of Corinth, which feels weird. And that will sling us over to the Spartans, but I got a problem. I'm out of battery, and I can only charge 3 at one time. So, I think I'll pause for a bit. Anyways, one of the costs of playing these more intensive kind of, again, Euro-style play, anytime where I have to go into a lot of video time to kind of show what's going on, as opposed to, yeah, look, the Allies managed to push into into France this turn, and just shit like that. If I can say broad things that cover, if I'm playing a lot more than I'm on video, very obviously I use up less camera, less battery, but the story to this is very hard to express without going into the details of each card played and whatever. Just like whatever story might be present in a real Euro is just missing. You need to see the mechanisms in play. Here, all I can say is, like, I could look at, oh, look, the Spartans managed to, lose control of the Corinthian isthmus, as I have to look up its name, over the course of the turn. Well, that's not very interesting, right? Like, it's not at all clear how that would have happened. Now, in Strategos, it might be absolutely clear how something like that happened, because you see it kind of developing. But here, the only way you really see it is through the mechanisms in play. Without going into all that detail, it would have been hard to express that this city fell. And it would be hard for you to intuit exactly why or how it happened. So here it is, Thursday morning, fairly early still. I've been sleeping to avoid playing Raid, and then having to play lots of Raid, and haven't been able to get up here. Now I'm letting it play itself, and just hoping for the best. I'm fucking sick of parts of the game, and whatever. Anyway, let me start with the Spartans here, see if I can figure out where I am. This is not a game to walk away during, like a Euro, like the Libyan campaign series, like things like that. I would much rather just be able to play through so that I can kind of keep my flow going. There's other games where walking away is easier because the narrative is more stuck on the field. So, for example, when I did Banish All Their Fears, almost anything tactical, I can walk away between turns, I can look, and I can understand the situation very quickly. It's very hard to absorb these games that don't, present things in sort of a standard fashion. As hard as I think. I played the Delphi card, finally. Did I cheat? I don't know. Maybe I wasn't reading it carefully. Oh, shit. Spend an envoy to send a greater envoy if you do not have a favor, or if you already... Okay, so I had to spend a favor to do that. Do I want to give this up? I think that actually makes the most sense. So I gained control of Delphi, big deal, and I marched over here. That'll give me control of Corinth, which I currently have, the Corinthian isthmus, but I will be losing if I don't do something about it. So at the very least, a raid will get me control back of the isthmus. The question is whether I want to stick around for a siege. I don't know. Do I want to build a force? Okay. There is this guy here. So I may actually want to get a fleet in play as well. All I have left is the Nav Arch. Perfect person to command a fleet. I have one more card. I can send it into a battle. Sounds good to me. Problem, in my desperate times, I don't have a ready leader to use there. So things could go very badly for me by not having a reserve leader. Played the Northern Envoy. Sparta chose Chalcidicia as where they would have to place because they would gain something in Thessaly. So instead I'm just reinforcing what's here. I sent my fleet over here. There's not a great option for me across the board. Now I have the question, look, Sparta's out of things, so I could actually hold my cash and provide a siege. I don't want to discard that card. And start sieging Sicily. That might be kind of cool. Taking money away from Sparta is particularly valuable, which is kind of, I don't know. I was going to say it's kind of weird because the grain, which is kind of the money situation in this game, I guess. Like, this game does not differentiate between grain and money. And that is problematic because Athens' problem was feeding their people. And so they had to open, the Hellespont up. They had to gather stuff from various other areas because Athens would be constantly raided. On the other hand, they had the silver mines, which produced tremendous amounts of silver for them. Sparta, on the other hand, had a lot of food, but didn't have silver. And in this game, it feels like the coins kind of represent both. So if you get this, if you get Sicily, you're getting coinage. They're not interchangeable. The coins were really, really important. The money was really, really important for building fleets. It is here. But deploying armies and whatnot didn't require a lot of cash. You might make the argument is that it required grain, and I almost feel like there's a currency missing, like they should separate the two currencies into grain resources and coinage resources. I wouldn't be shocked if one of the iterations had done that, and then they decided to simplify, but it definitely feels like something's missing, where, honestly, part of the problem that Athens had was they constantly had to have grain to feed their people. And this isn't so much for deploying armies and whatnot, as for keeping their cities fed. So, it's almost like there would be a diplomatic consequence to not having the grain, that the cities would weaken in some sort of way. So I don't know quite how that should be handled, but it doesn't feel like that aspect of this grand conflict is being handled at all. I didn't really have a good place to land. Actually, this isn't a bad one. Let me go here instead. Taking this out would actually, owning this would cancel out Sparta. I don't know. It's so hard. This doesn't really do me shit. Right? The question is, what do I do with my money? And I think I'm going to save it so that I can open up a siege there. Because once I've got a siege opened up, it's not a big deal that I don't. I can continue the siege even though the Olympics is coming and whatnot. Not Athens having a land unit to contradict or counteract this thing, that's going to cause me some issues. I open up a siege there. I also launch a naval battle here, and we're going to pull some battle cards. Both sides get one. I should have the advantage. Let's do a quick count on what the sea battle strength is. Largest combined value in these, yeah, that's Spartan. Largest fleet, though, ties it up. I'm probably not going to win the battle, but I might be able to prevent, I'll probably be able to prevent the raid. And I want to prosecute this siege. Yeah, I'm kind of scattershot right now. Part of it's because I'm worried about fucking raid downstairs doing whatever it's doing. Friendly controlled spaces adjacent. Nope. I don't get that bonus, so I have 1 die to begin with. I'm not besieging Sparta. My army strength is better, so that gets me a 2nd die. I gain nothing. I also lose nothing. But that's okay. I get to, I can open up the siege without prosecuting it. This is something that feels kind of weird, is like you can sit there and siege, and it's without doing a city assault or whatever. It all makes sense, in terms of the subject matter. But something feels like, yeah, it should cost you something to start laying down the siege, at least. I mean, it costs you 3 to deploy the unit, but that's just what it costs to do the raid. With Sparta passing on their first card, Athens plays, if the battle ends in a draw, you win instead. That gives them a victory here. They're still going to be forced aside. I don't have anything I want to discard. So let's check leadership. Okay, both get improved. This is Fleets, the Navarch. And we can just send him away, and over here the Polemarch. Yeah, he was already bonused. Is going to go away. And so we failed to get anything there. But at the very least, we won the battle, which means what? 2 losses here, 1 here, and we get a favor. We'll take the harp back because I don't know. I don't know. And where does that put us? That puts us on the last card here. Spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to any uncontrolled space. This is a big deal. So last turn I held off doing this because there were no uncontrolled spaces that I wanted to go to. I played this, that got me that. Now I would be able to get it. But now I have a favor and I must do this. Where do I want to spend a point? Yeah, that's a... I'll look and try to figure out, where do I gain the most? It's probably over here with Thessaly, where I get a money and a cav, but I already have the cav advantage, so, do I really want it? I don't know. I could send it to Athens. That might be a good idea, because otherwise I'm not going to get Attica, which is where I would do without spending the favor, but now I have to spend the favor to do it. Ouchies. And that was because of the laconism over here. There's an issue with the cards over here. Like, I want to sort them by which deck they belong to and whatnot. But that's kind of a complicated thing. When you open up the deck, they're all in an order where, I don't know, a fair amount of them are available for that first scenario in the right place, and a fair amount, they're kind of divided up by scenario. It may not be that big a deal. It may just be, look, do your best to sort them by where they belong. But because there's like cards that don't have the symbol you expect on them and whatnot. But how to deal with the discards. Dealing with them with one scenario makes a lot of sense and is going to be fairly easy. Dealing with them across multiple scenarios is not going to be easy, because I'm going to presumably go through the whole deck. And also, some of these might come back in other in other decks, which is just like, whoa, I don't know what's going to happen there. Okay. I have nothing besieging. I don't want to deploy a force, although it does give me an Olympic advantage. I'd rather keep the cash on hand. So I'll kind of pass out, and that will get me to... And again, I'm making a guess there as to, does it make more sense to try to get an extra cube? I don't know. I really don't. And this is the problem I have with Euro-style mechanisms, is that the best guess I can make is that I want to keep my money here, right? Now I could actually react immediately with an emergency deployment. How important is that? Like, I would get Corinth if I win that battle. But the only leader I could deploy is Myronides. I'd rather kind of keep him. So, yeah, we'll leave things alone. He could go home if he wants to. He doesn't want to. So yeah, I guess we go to this. I don't know. My brain doesn't work well when I'm like worrying about something. When I've got something else worrying in the background, my brain just starts worrying about on that. So it's like, it's one of the reasons why I can't multitask at all. What are we on here? We did the action rounds, Olympic. If neither player has, see page 11 if you have forces deployed or mobilized. I have forces deployed, but I believe, of course I have to recheck every time, because that's just how my fucking brain works. I believe that I'm okay with that deployment there. So where do we look here? What do we see? Both players check if they have hoplites or thermites, which have not yet raided or begun a siege. I've already raided and begun a siege, so I don't have to do anything special. I don't have any mobilized that have not yet been deployed in either case, so I don't have to deal with that. So then I go to the base Olympics rules. So least talents, that's 0. It's good that's resolved first, right? I also have most skirmishers, so I get another cube for that. Boxing, least regions. That's going to be Sparta again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 4. That's going to be Sparta again. Another coin. And then I have the most fleets as well, so I get another cube. Wow, Sparta's good at the Olympics. Least favor. That will be Athens. And they get a coin for that. They have the most horses, so they get another cube. Least battle cards. That's going to be Sparta this time. And then, of course, since I have 3, I have to make change because we can't ever allow anything to go weird that way. And do we have the most elites? We do. We get another cube. Lots of cubes here. Discus holder. Who has it? No one. So no one gets that cube. Nobody demobilized. Nobody breached the truce. This is unspent. It gets another cube. And we have a massive Spartan advantage, but unlike, I mean, the other one gives you dice, so, you know, we shake things up in here and we hope. I don't trust shaking them up like this, but Sparta wins and gets the discus. That should be the end of the turn, putting us here. At this point, Academus and Kimon are made available. And then these other cubes will go away. I get to plug this in, and we'll put a couple of dice here to remind me that's the beginning of the turn. Letting my raid game play itself is not really working very well. But screw it, I'd let it do it again. And I'm going to go to regional assessment and shuffle the battle deck. Let's get the first parts of the turn out of the way before we get to the action rounds, and then take the break. Okay, regional assessments. Let's start looking. Sicily still his. Aetolia still his. Corinthian Isthmus. This is going to be complicated. Right now, I think there are no points for this. The boat which would normally be here, I'm going to cover up because nobody's going to get that right now. Macedon just stays mine. Boeotia here. Who has Boeotia? That is going to be still his. Let's look over at the Athenian ones. Chaldicea, I want to call it that. Attica, I managed to reinvigorate myself. The Peloponnesus, ooh, this is complicated. Peloponnesus is 3, 4 to 2. That's going to actually swing over here, and that's going to move this. Okay. The Ionian coast, still his. Cyclades, still his. Let's look at the others, make sure, because some of them might be Thessaly, still neutral. That should be it. Okay. That means, what do? We collect the money from them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Did we do something fucked up here? Corinth is knocked out. There's no one in Corinth at all. There's some decent money over here. And then over here, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 here as well. 9, 12, a little bit more money for the Athenians. That battery's not charging again. And it sucks because, okay, I got that in there, but this battery's almost dead. They wear out a lot faster than they charge. I checked the colors on these. They all seem to be correct. That means I go to what? I go to shuffle the battle deck, and then the next thing is Hoplite Reset. Okay, we'll do that first because we'll go back to the battle deck. Hoplite Reset. Okay, a current strength of 0 goes to 4. He's going to be high. That goes to 6. +1 for each megalopolis that the player controls. Sparta gets +2 for those two. Athens gets +1 for Athens. And then there's a siege undergoing, which takes 1 away. Shipbuilding, there's a lot of money. Sparta will up theirs. Athens will up theirs. And then Sparta will up theirs again. And that's the most we can do in a given turn. I mean, it's not like, I don't know. So like, yeah, sure, grain can be sold for silver and whatnot, but the silver mines themselves were very, very particular for Athens. Yeah. Okay. Recruitment. The only missing counter is over here on the Corinthians. Nobody's going to pay for that. Rebuilding, the raid goes away. Unless there's a siege, right? Yeah. Okay, that stays. Which is impressive because that means this space stays raided for next turn, even if I recall. Of course, recall is dangerous. Deal action cards. I have not done everything I'm supposed to do. I can guarantee you that. So, for example, somewhere in here it's got to tell me that my dudes get recovered. Was that at the end of the turn? Yeah, the leaders refresh at the end of the turn. I'm just like, yeah, this can't be. I forgot my income of this. And likewise, There's a lot of fucking leaders. We haven't lost many. In my prior game, leaders were dying like flies. I'm out of battery. I gotta do something. When my brain is like this, and usually this doesn't happen when I'm smoking regularly. It used to happen all the time before I took up smoking. But when my brain gets to this kind of way, it aligns with kind of what I understand about AHDH and stuff like that. Okay, where the fuck am I? I fixed my leaders. I think I've done most of this. I have to reshuffle those, and I have to deal 6 action cards. I think that's all I have to do. To note, start dealing these out. 1, 2, 2, and we're out. That means we reshuffle the discard pile, which doesn't include any of the cards that have been removed, but it does include cards from these first 2 turns. So it's kind of like a Twilight Struggle type of deck where it's, you know, you get to insert the new timed cards, so they don't get, like, they're forced to come out before the ones that have been discarded come back around. So it's a mechanism that I really like. I liked it in Twilight Struggle. I like how it's showing up here. So I have to reshuffle the deck and then deal out the remaining 4 cards to each player. This is not possible, but I don't remember having to reshuffle the first time I played. So I'm a little confused because there should be the same number of cards. As to the action rounds, you know, I mean, I'm assuming that I must have reshuffled, and I'm just not remembering. Because again, it should be the same pattern of the same number of these cards is dealt each turn. It's 6 a turn. There's 3 turns. 18 cards should be used from the same size deck. It should require a reshuffle. But I just can't remember. But again, yeah, my brain stops working properly under these circumstances. So we shall move on later because I need to run away and do something. I am just not in good shape here. So here we're back. It's late afternoon, Thursday. Got my sleep. I'm a lot mellower and more reasonable right now. I don't think I threw a full meltdown, but you know, it's just so weird to be in that state. It's like, but I used to get into that a lot of the time, and smoking seems to calm it most of the time, but for whatever reason, I was there today, earlier on. Interesting, to me at least, I use incandescent light bulbs for gaming because they just feel brighter to me when I spotlight in on them and whatever. And one of them popped, and you know, it's so weird. It's like the idea of a light bulb going out is a really, really odd thing. I'm almost out, actually. I have like 1 spare, but whatever. All right, so we will start with, I guess, the Spartan player turn here, and I think I'll be a little bit more able to cope. Look at what the player cards are to get an idea. I think that's going to give us a flow here. So Controller of Thebes, that's me, sends a lesser envoy to an uncontrolled space. You know, it's just like a bonus freebie. This got reshuffled in. Peloponnesian lead. I must spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to a space in the Peloponnesus and Corinthian Isthmus. Okay. I have a fair amount of favor, so that's not terrible. Mobilize a trireme for free. Always nice. Yeah, we've seen all of these before. A lot of political stuff. Useful. useful. I have to consider where I want to spend my favors, which ones I want to do that on, because after I spend my favors, then I can get the lesser bonuses off the things that don't require them. Having a lot of favor means, yeah, I'm going to get more bonuses, but that favor is going to all disappear real fast. Let's take a look at the Athenians. Controller of Delphi, that's not me, so I probably don't want to play that. I want to see if I can convert Delphi. This is a big one. Spartan aloofness. Do not count the Spartan elites in battles. Initiated by the Spartan players' action rounds, unless the battle region is in the Peloponnesus. This is a big deal. It means this guy just disappears, and now he's not only elite but veteran. So that's a 2-point swing. But I have no elites, so I'm losing that no matter what. Greater envoy to Macedon. I'll probably take the alternative there because I already have Macedon. I'm glad he doesn't have it. He could steal away my Macedonian skirmisher. Oh, no. I actually probably want to do that. That's Sparta that has that. Thessaly and Chalcidicia, because of favor. I only have one favor, so I have to be... There's a different kind of care. When you have very few favors, you want to pick the impactful thing. When you have a lot of favor, you might want to try to figure out how you can spend your favor. You want to spend more of that favor. You want to. It's always this. Hey, which things do I like to freebie for better? Sometimes that's the case. Citizen colony doesn't give you a colony. Kind of useful. Again, these are just a bonus for the player who owns that thing, but it's not clear to me that gaining an influence is better than gaining a favor, right? So again, this is like where you play around. Hey, maybe I hold on to this in the hopes that, I lose Athens temporarily for the favor. Yeah, but I don't really want to lose Athens. And then this one is always cool. It allows me to fling a free hoplite force into play for defense. Probably shouldn't look at that before I look at before I actually play the Spartan turn, but I don't know. It's not like my memory's that good. Speaking of the idea, so here, this is one where you spend a favor to get a lesser envoy, one influence cube, or don't spend a favor and get a lesser influence cube. I'm just as happy with putting a cube here in Corinth as I am in putting it to any uncontrolled space I like. Obviously the flexibility is nice, but it's not worth spending a favor for, so I kind of want to drain my favors before I play this one. That's just the kind of... That's one where it's like absolutely clear that I want to hold off on, right? Because I probably want to spend it on Corinth no matter what. Problem is, then I compare it with this one, where I spend a favor to send an envoy to Boeotia and to the Corinthian Isthmus. Well, I probably want to send that to Corinth as well. Sure, I've got Megara too. I could play them both out. I actually, which one would I favor? I don't know, but. Balancing the different choices, right? Let's say Megara wasn't an option here. The idea of upping Corinth would be very appealing for playing this card early, but then I might be boning this card. So again, there's this weird sort of balancing of the different choices you have. And I like that kind of thing. It allows me to play very opportunistically and to make, sort of an optimization that I can see in real time rather than, I don't know, having more general goals that I'm trying to pursue. So here I have, I think, the one I like, which is the controller of Thebes, something I could lose, so let's play this early. Sends a lesser, and it's a weaker card, sends a lesser envoy to one uncontrolled space. If neither player controls Thebes, gain a favor instead, which again might be better than the influence, but where do I want to put it? It's a good question. So this is the balance that you have to constantly be playing around with. I'm fucking around here in the Corinthians. Two Corinthians walked into a bar. I could cancel out something like the Cyclades. It doesn't happen immediately, but it would happen in the long run. Boats, I've got a good advantage in boats. I could go into Attica. That looks like a harder fight. It looks to me like I really just have to take Athens away from him. I could go into Thessaly, but I already have something for Thessaly, and it doesn't give me the immediately assess it aspect. Anatolia, I have relatively well controlled. You know, it's like this, okay, I'm balancing on the region rather than gathering up all the cities in a region, which you can make arguments in both directions. Strategos, once you start collecting stuff in a region, you pretty much start, or in a general locale, you end up kind of snowballing and taking everything in that locale. That's not the case in this, and historically it wasn't always, like, there were tendencies in that way, but also it wasn't a guarantee of any sort. So basically, I think my best is to fuck around with the Ionian coast. I could, of course, just grab Hellespont, get me some money. I think the Ionian coast is probably the best thing, though, that I'm taking away. However, we are at, so I would be close to Persia here with either of these, which gives a siege advantage. Like, whatever I do, it's not going to take effect in this scenario, but in the next scenario, the position will translate over to some extent, to a large extent. So yeah, I don't really know which to put. I'm always short on cash. Thrace is open. Did I have something for Thrace? I don't think so. But I don't want to be next to that. Okay, I'm going to place it here instead. And then I continue with my turn, which he's not able to raid. That's already raided. I got nothing to deploy. I look over, hey, what are they up to? Probably want to mobilize something. What do I want to mobilize? Well, what am I trying to do, right? I'm good on land or sea. So it kind of doesn't matter. Gosh. What's my battle card? My battle card is good on land. So I probably want to mobilize myself a land force. I don't want to not mobilize, right? And to finish things off, I was successful in my siege. That's going to give me... I actually have kind of an overwhelming power in Corinthian ready to be unleashed, which is kind of interesting. It didn't, you know, it doesn't look that way when I don't even have the counter, right? But yeah. One thing I wanted to note was I have this space here and I've got the cards here. Initially, when I set it up and played solo, I had the cards up above the board and had the board down lower. I like this better on this kind of thinnish table, simply because it gives me a place where when I need to put the rules or the player aid or something right in front of me, I've got it. I've got more room for stuff. I kind of don't like having cards on the board where they don't belong, cluttering up other spaces. But these are unimportant things, as is the Sparta marker, the game... you know, the copyright material, right? It's good places to put it, but it does kind of bother me to have the cards not in specific little card boxes, but these are unimportant spaces for this scenario. I've decided to play King Perdiccas. to get rid of this, and I'm going to spend the favor to resolve control of Macedon. What does that do? Well, it doesn't give anybody any money, but it gets rid of this skirmisher here. I was just noticing Keeman here has an interesting... So he has, when you roll your leader fight, you can spend 2 favor and choose 1 additional die and choose which die to use. That's kind of cool. Gives him a chance to improve. It gives... you might not want to. It keeps him alive more likely. I thought he was the one that allows you to roll for... To add dice for both. He's not. I don't know who that is. But I looked over on his gold side to see if he was that one. And no, it's if both players are tied in regions during the victory phase, Athens wins ties. This is interesting in the Grand Campaign because if you play the Grand Campaign as it's meant to be played, with 1 victory condition at the end of, and I don't know at the end of what. I think it's at the end of... the Corinthian Theban War series, but it might be at the end of the final one that's detached from the Peloponnesian Wars in general. He's going to be dead by then. He's not going to make it that long. He is definitely useful, though, for this scenario, and I consider that victory. So I consider... think of something like Empires in Arms or Europa Universalis here in terms of victory conditions. I consider it important to win or to be doing well in various periods of the game, essentially, as well as at the end. So something like Empires in Arms handles that by giving you points throughout the game. That doesn't... So it's kind of funny because I don't actually feel like a singular binary victory condition ever makes much sense in a historical situation. There's 2 things. Empires in Arms has this accumulated glory concept, and so does EU, to tell you the truth, where we did pretty well in early periods of the game. Now our goals are less. And so we don't have to reach as far. That's not how countries usually actually work, right? You know, usually as countries begin to accumulate more and more power through their prestige and whatnot, power along with prestige at the same time, they also are like, I think we can reach further, right? We can utilize the power we have to try to reach a lasting power. And so I actually kind of like the way the victory conditions are here. I like the fact that I feel free to kind of make them up, right? And say, yeah, it means something to win this first scenario of the game, and it means something to win the last scenario of the game. And I don't really necessarily put one above the other. I think, you know, the lasting position that you're in at the end of the sequence of scenarios is of perhaps greater importance, but not overwhelming importance. And at the same time, winning specific scenarios is something that's a feather in your cap. I don't like the idea that, say, if I won the first 2, I could just kind of pocket that third one. I wouldn't even have to play it or something like that. That feels wrong. I don't really like a numerical victory condition being placed on something. Obviously, again, for people who want to play very, very competitively, the idea of, did you win? What's the question? What's the question? I know my first wife used to ask it, but I think, yeah, my past wife did as well. Where, you know, I'd come back from playing a game, and the assumption was that the interesting thing was, did I get the highest score in something? You know, did you get gold at the Olympics? Look, just fucking being able to make it into the Olympics is big enough, right? You know, it really is. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird sort of It's a weird sort of feeling, and I kind of feel like there's more to that, right? The game that comes to mind the most as having this sort of flexible victory conditions that I really love about it, even though it's kind of frustrating at times, is Lords of the Sierra Madre, which has defined victory conditions. The person with the most money wins the game. But then it has like other victory conditions which you can achieve, and they don't trump nor are necessarily trumped by the base victory condition. The base victory condition everybody's compared on. But then there's like, hey, are you president of the US, or did you manage to become president of the US with one of your people? That's pretty cool. You know, that's a victory condition. Are you the current president of Mexico? That's pretty awesome. You'll probably die, but you know, it's awesome. I really like that it kind of encourages that. There's a singular victory condition, but there are these like additional victory conditions just tacked on at the end of the rule book. And to me, that's very similar to what I'm looking at here. Boy, am I trying to make this long. And I think I'm just chatty because like I'm in my normal state now, and I obviously wasn't earlier. I was in like my normal state when I was a teenager, which was awful. It was really awful. Wow. Going with delay of game here. Anyway, I decided to push, is there anything I wanted to discard? I might switch Pericles out. That one's not great. I'm okay right now. I decided to send Pericles with armies because I'm tied in armies. What are my battle cards like? I'm actually behind in fleet battle here. Yeah, and I have a good hand for land armies. I was just trying to make a decision of what the hell do I want to do? Because you kind of have to... It's easier for Sparta, I guess. I don't know. It's easier when things aren't kind of as balanced as they are right now in terms of fleets and armies and whatnot. Although I guess they're not really balanced. Where you're like, yeah, I want to build an army because I'll be able to handle the fighting and whatever. But there's also the concept of, well, where do I want to go? What do I want to take if I'm going to attack something? Like, you know, let's say I'm attacking out of Athens. I think that's the only place I can, well, I can come out of Persia. But I'm attacking out of Athens almost certainly here, which means where can I go? I can go to Megara and hand that over. Don't want to do that. Or I can march on Thebes with an army. Those are the two aggressive moves I can make. Now, on the other hand, my army does counter the Spartan army there. I can send it anywhere to counter it. Which feels a little weird, like if something's happening in Sicily or anything. But almost anywhere else, yeah, I can understand the argument. And honestly, Spartans going to Sicily might make more sense than Spartans going over to the Ionian coast, I guess. I don't know. The world is small. But the expedition to Sicily was considered a major, like, it was a major expedition because of the distance, in addition to opening up a new front and everything. A fleet gives me a lot more opportunity to strike where I want to, but I looked at, first of all, I'm behind in the naval race, and I tried to look at where would I send a fleet, right? I don't know. There aren't a lot of places that there's an obvious gain. The Hellespont would be one. That definitely is of interest, but maybe I can do that using envoys. All right, I'm going to swap batteries. I'll try to do another player turn. I got to go play Raid soon, and I'm like not getting anything done here. I want to get this. I want to get this scenario and the setup done before I go dancing tomorrow. Pretty simple turn for Sparta. I played the Peloponnesian League, gaining Corinth and Mantinea, and deployed for an attack on Athens. It's a hard call. I mean, basically it was between Athens and Plataea. I'm going to force a battle in this case. That's okay, I guess. And then I'm raising another army with the Strategos for a battle. I figure if I lose this battle, I still have enough money to do a siege or whatever if I want to. But the neat thing is, if I can raid Athens, that actually takes Attica out of their control because I have one, they have one. With the Spartan aloofness card, this only lasts. This is a card that came in the Boeotian War. I don't think this would apply in later scenarios. Boy, battery has to be dealt with. I think this effect will be removed. So it's only really in effect for this turn, unless that card stays in the game for the next scenario or something. I don't think it will. So I've got a very, very limited capability here. And it only applies on the Spartans' action rounds, which means if I attack the Spartans who are raiding during my turn, which is what I'm going to do, it's not going to have an effect. All right, we figured the initial battle strength for Pericles' attack here and dealt out the cards. It ended up zeroing out. 0 up here, higher army strength, defensive advantage, or home ground advantage. I have a bunch of nice cards. One of which is I could gain the mercenary elite unit and pay 2 talents to promote it. If this card was in play, these guys wouldn't be here. That would tie out the elites. But right now it doesn't really do it. I could reduce an opposing mercenary or Phoenician asset with either of these, or I could gain the mercenary peltists. Now, this is all very interesting. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this. This one is reduce an opposing elite asset, which doesn't really help me. But I could gain a battle strength by reducing skirmishers. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce an opposing mercenary. I'm going to get rid of this as my starting bid. And that gives me the skirmisher bonus, pushing it up to 1. Now we look over here. What's he got? Reduce an opposing cavalry asset. That's not going to do much, but I could reduce an elite to gain a battle strength. That would do something. Reduce an opposing skirmisher. Then reduce a cav to gain a battle strength. I'll reduce one of his skirmishers. One of these Cretans goes away. And that takes this away. And this. And it's this sort of ping pong when you have a handful of these. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get as many points as I want it, but I can use the mercenary peltists to bring these in on my side, gaining the advantage again. I think the net is I've just bought off the troops completely that were on the Spartan side. Then they have reduce an opposing cavalry asset. That's not going to help, but I could reduce an elite to gain a battle strength. And it doesn't have to be a veteran elite. So I will play this. Reduce one of his cav. Ionia versus Attica. Attica's over here. I'm kind of fighting to get rid of his. Kind of fighting to get rid of his Attica. So I'm going to reduce the Ionians. But then I can reduce an elite. We'll get rid of Boeotia in order to get a battle strength. And this one's not going to be tracked anywhere. We haven't changed anything over there on the long term. There's one more card left. Reduce an opposing elite asset. And then reduce a skirmisher to gain a battle strength. Well, I'm getting a battle strength off my skirmishers anyway, so I don't want to play this card. I'll hold it till later. We're at a 0. That's going to be a tie, which sends both players home. I guess we can roll this. He does not have that advantage, right? When Pericles is spent. Yeah, and then I'm going to get the effects, which are kind of nice ones. So this one is gain a talent, and this one is to gain a lesser envoy to a non-hostile space. Okay, so Pericles would promote, but that doesn't really help. And these each go down, and everything goes home. And our choice here was to try to make sure we get some of the money, make sure that the Spartans don't get the money out of the Hellespont. Again, it's hard for me to understand, you know, look, preventing grain from getting to Athens shouldn't give Sparta more money. Sure, they might be able to buy that grain and do something with it. But there's enough grain throughout most of Greece and most of the board that it's not a big value to anyone except to Athens. And then, yeah, the effects that it gives for Athens are great, but it could be indicating something like a smaller general army size, which would benefit the Spartans to allow them to deploy more armies. It doesn't feel right, though. It just doesn't feel right. Like that's not how it would record an army strength instead, I think, or something along those lines. So it's like my mind is just having a hard time getting around them. I've got to go play some Raid, and but we've gotten through a couple of the cards here. I know. You know, the thing is, in the time that I've been babbling, in all the excess time, I could have easily flown through this turn. Easily. And I kind of kicked myself for that. Once upon a time when I was playing and more excited about games in general, I was doing that, right? I was doing a lot less babbling on the camera. It's Friday afternoon. There are people in my park, little kitties and whatnot. That's going to become more and more an issue. School lets out and whatnot. It's okay. I'm usually not awake during the daytime. So yeah, Friday early afternoon. I'm gonna get a little bit in. I don't know if I'm gonna get to the transition between scenarios on today. I might not. Wow, how do I break that by line? Like I always predict these kind of things. You know, I say I'm going to do this or I'm not going to be back or something, and it ends up online. But on the Raid side of things, I actually managed to put together something very cool. You know, I didn't make it up or anything, but it fell together really nicely in terms of a little team comp that like is working a lot better than I expected it would, and I didn't have to put any effort into it except to watch it run a couple of times. I'm like, whoa, that's awesome. Which changes the nature of parts of the game, at least for me. All right, I'm on the Spartans. It doesn't look like there's anything deployed out there. I do have something deploying, though. I choose to play this. Unfortunately, I have like a favor, and I have 3 cards, one of which I don't want to expend a favor for, that expend favors. I spent a favor to send an envoy into Boeotia. I got rid of Plataea, and one into, not there, one into the Corinthian. Ooh, this isn't as good. Shit. Okay, that's going to cause me an issue anyway. All right. Well, we'll take Megara as well. I misread the map, basically. Yeah. Corinth, it's close to here. And for my deployment, part of me would say, hey, be great to attack Athens, huh? But I'm worried about that. I'm behind on the military levels. Even though I have the strategos involved, I'm going to actually march here to Naupactus. Instead, I got nowhere else I can go. I can't go up here with land units. Do I want to mobilize another unit? It's 3 cards left. He's got a land unit forming. I, of course, have my emergency piece. Like, if he doesn't react to me, he may... then attack me, and then I'd need a land unit. Yeah, I feel like you get yourself into this spiral where you have to do something. All right. I guess I will. Hard call. I only have $3 left. I would love to draw a battle card. I see that Athens has one and I don't. But I feel like I have to do the deployments to try to hold things where they are. Otherwise, my opponent can gain ground on me. Right now, it's not too bad. It looks like it's about even. Is there anything I'm getting? No, I'm not getting any gains, am I? But I'm expecting to be able to get Thessaly because of one of my cards, which will help a little bit. There's of consideration in this. First of all, I spent the Northern Envoy here, which, if I had a favor, I could have gotten one in each of these. Sparta knows, first of all, Chalcidice is already Athenian controlled, so I forced him to take there. But also, I'm interested in Thessaly, and I'm like, oh no, you don't. Beyond that, for where to deploy my army, I have this. Reduce an opposing elite asset, gain 1 battle strength instead, if none is there. I could take something out of here. Okay, great. That's kind of cool, but oh look, he's got 3 points for control. I'm not going to be able to take that away. But if I put that in conjunction with this, do not count the Sparta elite in battles initiated. Actually, I don't even need that. Initiated in the Sparta player's action rounds. Oh no, the Sparta elite, this one, the 2 points. Unless the battle region is the Peloponnesus. This would be a Spartan reaction to attack here. If I attack his siege, he still gets those, but he doesn't get those if he's trying to defend Thebes up here. So I'm marching into there, figuring that my advantage will be greater. You know, it'll be a 2-point advantage instead of a 1, so the home territory won't be as big a deal. The fact that I have a card and he doesn't, yeah, I don't really, I can't gain anything off my card. Although, can I? Yeah, I still have to destroy this. Okay, that's fine. So I can gain something off my card. So I probably have the edge in the battle because he doesn't have any cards, and I have one that is useful in that battle. I think I'm going to do Ptolemades for a navy. So I'm going to pull another card. I don't have a lot of money. I'm planning on sieging Thebes. I need money for that. So I'm sending Ptolemades here because he can cycle me to another trireme more quickly. Now that takes away an advantage because if Pleistothonax doesn't attack me, or doesn't come up here to defend against the siege that I'm performing, and goes and attacks something of mine instead, I don't have a reaction. I actually have the home guard as well, so I actually do have a reaction. But you got to make these choices, and sometimes do you respond? Do you set yourself up to react or not? Do you set yourself up so it looks like you're able to react or not? Okay. I choose to stick around to siege here. I'm not sure I like the idea, This is my bonus battle guy. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to be leading this battle, which would have been helpful. But I'm going to go for that anyway. If I'm going to be sieging, I don't really have enough money to build another force. So I'm going to hold off. And let's calculate out our points. To begin with, Athens is at +1 for this comparison. The next one is larger on the track. That knocks that out. And then its player holding control of the battle region knocks that out. If I had the +1 battle strength, I'd be way up there, but I feel like I have the advantage. And to some extent, you just kind of say, yeah, he's got a card, but maybe he's bluffing me. I can't let him just take Thebes this way. So then we deal out cards. And we have to play first. Unbreakable shields, play if you have the elite advantage. I do. Gain a battle strength. Now this is kind of interesting because I don't lose the elite advantage. However, I'm in the lead right now, and I'm willing to leave it that way. This is going to be a dumb move, but there's just no way that I know precisely what he's able to fuck around with to do to me. Which means it's his turn. He's got a general's fate. When rolling a leader fate, both leaders use 2 dice. Oh, this is the one. And you choose which one applies to both. That seems like a good choice to play next. Trying to coax something out of Sparta. He's still not interested. He doesn't want to play. I got the win, right? So then I played the other one. Reduce an opposing elite asset. I know that this isn't there. So this goes over here to Peloponnesius. Then you may reduce, and it has to be, I believe it has to be one who's involved in the fight, but I'm not positive of that. Like, I don't know if I could have hit the Sparta one. Then you may reduce your skirmisher asset to gain a battle strength. Okay, well this went away for this turn already. I could reduce my skirmisher, but that would just hurt my own units. So unless I was going to like lose Crete or the mercenaries, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That puts me back here. Do I have the elite advantage? Not anymore. Yeah, it looks like I do, but I don't. Nike smiles. If the battle ends in a draw, I win instead. Well, it's going to end in a draw. He's out of cards. I play that. I get a victory. First thing we do is roll 2 dice for each leader. They both improve. Pleistonax is already on the gold side. Polemarch is already on the gold side. So they're going to get their bonus effects no matter what. And then I give the results of victory to the Spartans, which means 2 hits here, 1 hit here, a favor. Yay. Anything else? I think that's it. I think both people go home at this point, and that's going to trigger their effect. So Pleistonax, he gains a favor and may then draw and discard a card. I'll do that. Let's put the favor with him. It's a great ability. And the Polemarch, when he becomes spent, I can discard a card. This is a big deal because I have the Delphic Oracle. Now this may lose me a turn that I would have had as a bonus turn otherwise. Like, so here's the thing. Let's say Sparta, I don't know how to put this. No, it does lose me a turn. Sparta has 2 turns left. I have 2 turns left. Then it's over. I would have 3 turns left if I didn't discard that card. So it would give me an extra turn. But I don't have a lot of cash. I don't have much to do with that turn. Getting that card out of my hand and preventing the bonuses that that card allows is of more value to me than what I could do with no money. Athens has ugly choices. I have the home garrison card. Or I could play this. I could actually just play that, but I don't feel like this is that big a deal. I can draw a battle card, which I'd like, because now I'm out. I lost my advantage. I played 2 in a row. Or I can mobilize a hoplite for free and deploy it to start a land battle, which is pretty much the same as this gives me, which would allow me to march up there and attack. That's not going to break the siege, though. He's already raided. He's already got the siege marker in place. I can't do anything about him. It's too late. I would have to win the battle to do something about him. And winning the battle seems unlikely. After we assessed, this doesn't matter anymore. So I'd have the bonus there, but he'd have the bonus here and the bonus for the terrain. Without that battle card, I don't get an advantage. So I'm going to just draw a battle card, delaying this thing to see if, I don't know what. I don't remember what I want with it. And now I get to play Ptolemies, who could actually end up going into a siege. I believe the way, though, that the march to battle is handled, you don't have to trace it all, right? If deploying to fight an enemy fought by your own hoplite, must be fought by your own trireme. There are no restrictions. Your force can march or sail anywhere on the map. No path is required. So, conceivably, if I lay siege to something and turn into a hoplite, Sparta could go attack me there. They don't need any naval, anything that can be intercepted or whatever. And that kind of makes sense. These fleets tended to fight at or near ports. The big battles weren't, usually in transit. So that kind of works. What was I going to say? I haven't done that yet. So yeah, I could conceivably send something, but I think what I'd rather do is try to gain some kind of advantage through raiding. Now, if I raid with Ptolemies, I get another raid with the Navarch. But the problem here is there's no place where a single raid does me a damn bit of good because of the way he's set up. So like it would take 2 to take Sicily out. It would take a lot to take Corinth or the Peloponnesus. Boeotia, yeah, this might be gone by then, but it's not really an issue. Here there's 3. Other places there's no boats involved. So maybe I do want to try to perform a siege, try to gain something. The other thing is I don't have enough turns, right? So if Ptolemies does his, I would have a turn to sail out, but I wouldn't have a turn to conduct the siege, and then I'd have to go home, given the number of cards that are around. So, what would we want to take? No, there's this. Raiding or taking that is definitely worthwhile. Didn't notice he had slipped that little bit of red up there. And that is it for their turn. I don't know why I didn't prosecute this right away. Like, I did the raid, I can prosecute the siege afterwards. But I have an interesting option here. I have a fleet action. I can mobilize a trireme for free, and then deploy it to start a sea battle. Or I could gain a navy strength, which doesn't put me anywhere near. A sea battle right now, I have the advantage here, he has the advantage there. These can be modified, but I've got a big advantage. There's no home base advantage. He's got a battle card, I don't. Chances are I would lose the fight. Is it worth it anyway, though, to drive him away from being able to raid me? And I think it is. Although losing the fight, would I lose the fight? Probably. But I might win it. All right, what about the nav arc? Reduce your strength loss by 1 in a sea battle. That'll help. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So that'll be up here. And I don't get to do anything with that. Well, wait, siege happens before battle, right? Yeah, siege happens before battle. Do I want to spend? Was my plan. It was my plan. Okay, for the siege, I have a bonus. I get 1 die to begin with. I get an extra die for having more territories adjacent. I get an extra die for the army thing. I'm at as many dice as I can get. The only thing that's left anyway is a -1 for Athens, which this is not. I could have sieged something bigger, couldn't I have? Yes, indeedy, I could have. Naval battle, like I said. We have a +1 here. They have a +1 for better fleet. Nobody's got control of the area. Let's check the leaders. Ptolemies doesn't do anything. The nav arc. Just post-battle. So we each get a card. Let's see if ours helps. Higher bidder. Reduce an opposing mercenary or Phoenician. Doesn't help. Phoenician fleet. I already have it. And it's veteran. And I take a strength. Could I have waited? Yeah, of course. Reduce an opposing allied fleet asset. Then you may reduce your allied fleet asset to gain a battle strength. So I could cause losses to both of us, which doesn't change the value. This C is our C. Home ground advantage. Remove 1 of your influence in the battle region to cancel up to 2 opponent advantages. Huh. Then recheck battle strength. 2 opponent advantages. The opponent only has 1 advantage, so that wouldn't actually help me. Local allies, remove 1 of your influence. This is the same thing in the battle region to cancel the opponent. Oh, this is only if you have the home ground advantage, which I do not. This doesn't seem very valuable in naval. Remove 1 of your influence into the battle to cancel the opponent, 1 of opponent advantage. Okay, so this would be the one that I would do. That I could switch this, but by doing that, no, it wouldn't change the home because this hasn't been assessed yet. By doing that, I could drop it to even. Let's see what this one does. Reduce an opponent's allied fleet asset to gain 1 battle strength instead. Then you may reduce your own to gain 1 battle strength. So I can win this battle. And that would let me raid. But I still wouldn't gain control of this. And I would lose something permanently. I think the best I can do is this. Reduce 1 of their allied fleets. Reduce 1 of my own allied fleets. Remember, I probably make more money than he does. Then I gain a battle strength. That puts us at even. He's out of cards. He's not going anywhere. Do I have something left to pull out of my ass? Probably not. I have this, where yes, I could win the battle, but that's not going to help me. So I'm going to take this as a draw. the Spartan Navarch would be improved. Okay. Strength loss is a loss of 1 by each, but the Navarch reduces those losses. However, I get my bonus, which is when spent after leading a trireme, you may spend 2 talents to mobilize the Navarch with a trireme even if spent. What happens if I do this? He deploys on my turn. Which is coming up. Right? He's mobilized, he deploys on my turn, which is coming up. Then I have the opportunity to break the peace. I don't want to spend the money for what is really, I think, a cube over here. It just doesn't seem worth it. Okay. I'm going to return this. So what did the Athenians do? They played and got themselves another point here. It looked like boats are... Like, I really want to beat the naval advantage that Sparta's gotten on me. That brings me to what is probably the last card. Closer ties. Spend a favor to send a lesser envoy to any uncontrolled space. All right, interesting. Where do I want to be? Right now, I could gain control of the Hellespont. Other interesting things I could do. I could take the Ionian coast away, but he's got to pay money to get that and whatnot. Wow, he's short on Crete too. Got a lot of money to spend. I think I'm going to blow the royal turd and grab me this, which gets me to the advantage in the Hellespont. I don't have anything I'm deploying. I'm obviously not going to pay money to deploy something at this point. That just is spent. Like, if I had shit tons of money and wanted a favor, sure, I might do that. Ooh, second fleet is not in the game yet. That shows up along with the third Athenian fleet on the next scenario. So, we're all out of cards now. Everybody's happy. Everything that was projected happened as expected. And we hit the Olympic Games. Let's compare them. Who's got less talents? Sparta. And they get a coin for that. These coins are really nice. I bet you they stink though. Yeah, they smell of steel. And I do not have the most skirmishers, so I don't get the bonus. Boxing, least regions. 4 regions to 4 regions. Sparta wins ties. And I have the most boats. Okay. Chariot racing, least favor. That is definitely Athens. And they have the cav advantage, so they get 2 cubes for that. And a buck. What's next? Wrestling, least battle cards. Sparta wins this one. This is the elites, so they get 2 cubes for it. I mean, this is not really exciting, but it's more fun to me to run through these different checks, to have these different goals that you're aiming for, even though maybe they seem kind of disconnected, you know, in order to say, look, who wins, you know, who's winning the Olympics? It's not just a simple die roll. Isn't it interesting? Yeah, you know, some of it does make sense. Like, if the advantages by what you are, like what advantages you have, the advantage in getting the extra cube for that, make perfect sense. What about the others? Well, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I would probably make an argument that I would think that boxing and wrestling, the Spartans would be better at, and that running and chariot racing, I don't know. I kind of think the Athenians would be best at poetry, and I don't know what else, you know. But yeah, I have no idea. Like those, all of them across the board feel kind of unimportant. What does make sense though is this: if you have the advantage, you get more out of it. The associated advantage. I don't really get the guys who have less money run better. Might be true. I don't know. But what it does is provides catch-up mechanisms for all the advantages in the game that are kind of cool. Nobody demobilized, nobody breached the truth. Maimonides, let's be Jewish for today, he was Jewish, wasn't he? Yeah, he had to be. It confuses me because it's like that, you know, period where the Arab East is so important. And it turns out Sparta wins the bonus. That's the end of the turn. I am going to make a separate interface video. I think because this video is long enough and I want to get it up. Gotta get it up. Is there anything else I've got to do at this point? Yes, I have to check victory. How about that? Okay. That means I need to swap batteries. If we were only playing the first scenario, this would be the definitive victory situation. I'm going to shift these. They might not stand the way they're shifted through the next turn because there's some interwar changes to the valuations. Sicily stays mine, Aetolia stays mine, Boeotia stays mine, Peloponnesus stays mine. Look across the board, anything captured? Thessaly has become over there. I'll put this for the sake of being. I still have to collect the coins, but just for the sake of being, because otherwise I'll get confused. The Hellespont switches sides. The Corinthian Isthmus. It looks like a big Spartan victory to me. Chalcidice, Attica, Ionian coast, and Cyclades all remain Athenian. But look at that. It's a 6-4 victory. I'd say that's pretty massive, to tell you the truth. Sparta definitely got the edge this time. Last time I played, Athens got the victory. They got very lucky. So I don't know. I really don't know. Why did I not have this? I don't know. Well, if I cheated with things like that and didn't give Persia at the beginning of this turn, that could have been a fairly big deal. Like that would have impacted the naval things. That would have impacted the cap. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure I didn't cheat in favor of Athens accidentally in a similar sort of way in the last game. And they had a similar disparate victory situation. I think the game probably should end up closer unless somebody fucks up royally or something gets screwed up otherwise. It feels like a very, very, like the kind of game that the balance remains in play for a long time. I'm a little worried about this, that like the balance is going to become problematic. Now, what is up with this card? We don't know. If this card is not present in a scenario, unlike the long walls, I think it just is taken from play. So unless something calls it back into being, I say it's gone. And that's that. We'll load this up. I may have a key for my clan boss fights that I can like fiddle around with, which if that's the case, it may delay me from being able to come up here again. Plus, I may want to take a nap, damn it. What you're hearing out there, it's more problematic than just kids off school. They actually hold a school in the park. I don't know if that's what it is. It's held usually across the street from me, much further away in the park, but I could see that they wanted to like, that could actually be that far away. I don't know. But it could be something else in the pavilion that is always noisy.